lastly, out of all of our kind of miscellaneous stuff that we're talking about here, let's talk about other lead placements. So we know our typical 3 lead, 4 lead placements. We know our typical 12 lead placements. We've talked about right-sided 12 leads. We've talked about posterior views. But let's talk about some other stuff that we can play around with and kind of highlight different portions of the heart. The first other lead placement we'll talk about is the Lewis lead, and we'll be documenting this as, instead of lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, V5, V2, whatever. We're going to document this, denote this as S5, because Lewis, obviously, S obviously stands for Lewis, right? So we're documenting it as S5, and we're going to use this when it's kind of hard to see atrial activity. Right? Maybe you see a P wave, maybe you don't. You're not really sure. You're not sure if it's a flutter. It's just kind of hard to pick out that P wave or that flutter wave. So we can throw them into a Lewis lead and isolate atrial activity. So we're going to move our leads around to really isolate and really kind of focus in on just the atria. With the Lewis lead, we're going to take our normal 3 leads, our white, red, and black leads. We're going to move all of them. So our white electrode is going to go on the manubrium. Our red electrode is going to go to the 5th intercostal space along the right sternal border. That's our red electrode. And then our black electrode is going to go on the right lower costal margin. So we're going to replace our 3 lead, our red, white, and black leads. And then we're going to turn our monitor to lead 1, and that's going to be our Lewis lead. Right? So now we've taken Einthoven's triangle that looks all over the heart, and we can kind of manipulate which view we're looking in. This goes and isolates the atria, and I monitor in lead 1 right here, so I've got this direct view just on the atria. So if I do have atrial activity, if I do have flutter waves, if I do have a P wave, there is atrial activity that's hard to pick up on our normal EKG. Now in the Lewis lead, that P wave, that flutter wave, is going to be huge. It's really going to jump out at you. It's just going to be amplified because we have taken our triangle and just squeezed it right around our atria. And our other kind of fun alternative lead placement are our Fontaine leads. So instead of looking at lead 1, 2, and 3, we're going to change those up, and even though on our monitor it says lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, these are being documented, denoted as F1, F2, and F3. With our Fontaine leads, instead of isolating the atria, we're isolating activity in the right ventricle only. So replacing and moving our white, black, and red electrodes again. From their normal placements, our white is going on the manubrium. Our black lead is going right on over the xiphoid, and then our red lead is going at our normal V4 location. So where we normally put V4 is now where we're putting our red lead. So you see here I've got my white lead up here on the manubrium. I've got my black lead right here on my xiphoid, and I've got my red lead where I'd put my V4, and we monitor in lead 1, 2, and 3. That becomes F1, F2, and F3. And this picks out, really hones in on right ventricular activity, and you see all these like little arrows pointing down. That's because they're pointing out epsilon waves. So an epsilon wave is going to be a little fluctuation, a little actual like puddle wave, ripple wave in the ST segment that leads us to a very particular diagnosis. In these Fontaine leads, these F1, F2, F3, if we're seeing these like little ripples, these little fluctuations in the ST segment, we're calling that, documenting that as an epsilon wave. And this epsilon wave associated with right ventricular diseases, especially, it's a hallmark sign, classic sign of arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, which is just an issue with the right ventricle where some of the muscle has been replaced by fatty tissue, just genetically. So not lifestyle based, just genetic. You're born with it, and you have rhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia. Electricity doesn't flow through fatty tissue like it flows through heart muscle. So if you think you're driving down the road, it's been raining, and you hit a big puddle, you might hydroplane a little bit. Your car might go screwy, might kind of go side to side a little bit. That's what the electricity is doing here when it's coursing across all this cardiac muscle and then all these myocytes, and then all of a sudden just hits kind of a little puddle of fatty tissue. Can't quite conduct as efficiently through that tissue, so creates this little ripple. Um, you're going to see this little ripple even in V1 and V2. So if you see an epsilon wave in V1 and V2, I want you to automatically throw them into these Fontaine leads, and that's going to amplify this epsilon wave. So you can really say, you know what, I think I saw an epsilon wave in V1, V2, but I definitely saw it when I put them in the Fontaine leads. Any questions about any of this stuff, all of this stuff, please, please, please let me know.